Welcome to another Aloha Friday, which is also Fan Friday Talk Story Day here at ESPN Honolulu. And we're glad to be joined by a familiar face, familiar name, because former player for women's basketball at the University of Hawaii, but has come back. One of the few we're seeing here and there that have come back and now are part of the coaching staff for the women's basketball team under head coach Laura Beeman. And I'm talking about Savannah Reier. She's joined us now as the Director of Player Development. Did I get that right, Savannah? Is that correct?
Yeah, that was right.
All right. Hey, thanks for joining us. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
So now refresh our fans and even myself again. Like, your senior year was which year again?
My senior year was COVID, so the last season before everything kind of shut down, we got cut off going into the semifinals of our conference tournament that year.
Oh, that's right. So women's basketball, so that was March of 2020, literally when the hammer hit, when everything shut down with COVID. You guys actually played your opening game of the Big West, won it, and was actually the last team to actually compete before everything shut down. And you guys were told literally, was it the day of or the day before that you guys wouldn't play?
It was the day before. We were in study hall and we had seen like the Warriors weren't playing a game, and I was like, you know what, we already started the tournament. We're still going to get to play, like trying to be optimistic. But they came in about 30 minutes in the study hall and had told us that unfortunately the season was canceled. So shock.
And as a senior, and even for the rest of the players, obviously with momentum, you guys get that first win. There's obviously a lot of positivity. What was the feeling in the room? What was your initial reaction back then when you reflect on it?
I think at first I didn't realize the magnitude of what we were about to go through, just as a country, and as you know, the entire world was going to face this huge thing. But for me, initially, I was kind of shocked, and it didn't really hit me until after I graduated, and my graduation was online, and I didn't get that full Hawaii experience as far as graduation. Thankfully, we had our senior night, which was a highlight of my career, but it was initially just shock. But soon after, I started to realize, okay, this is kind of how it's going to end as far as basketball, and so we just have to find the next thing and keep moving forward.
Yeah, I just can't imagine. And of course, reflecting on that time now, how far we've come. And I kind of want to just throw all that pandemic stuff, just leave it in a bag and just wrap it up and leave it there. Well, so catch us up now. So from your senior year, what did you graduate? What degree did you get? And what has happened since today?
Yeah, so I graduated from UH with a bachelor's degree in sociology. I took a break from athletics, got out of it, and I actually went home and worked with my mom in a chocolate store. So I was a chocolatier for like 6 months, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
And then I ended up coming back out to Hawaii, and I worked in assisted living and served kupuna.
Yeah.
Kupuna. And I did that for about 6 months. I loved it, but realized, you know, the longer you stay out of athletics, the harder it is to get back in. So I had a great opportunity to work with PGC basketball, which is an elite high school / collegiate basketball camp across the country. So I took that opportunity, which led to me eventually getting a job at the University of Nevada as a graduate assistant. And that's where I was last year. So still pursuing my master's degree this upcoming year, but doing it online and getting to work for my alma mater. So super excited to be back. And it's been a journey, but definitely blessed to be able to come back and serve the team I played for. So
yeah, and congratulations to you as well. Now, what are you getting your master's in?
my master's degree is going to be equity and diversity in education. Very applicable to today's times. It kind of ties into sociology and stuff I'm super interested in. So I really enjoy it and definitely want to finish it.
And by the way, also congratulations on getting the word kupuna right. Not everyone knocks that out of the park. You said you really enjoyed it. I look at those, that kind of job where you're working with that, the elderly and things of that nature. you got to have a different personality because, that's not the easiest crowd to work with. What was it about that working with that type of that group of people? What did you find so connecting, so engaging?
I think they just love my energy and they really enjoy just seeing someone high energy in their home daily because you're coming into where they live. And so to be able to connect with someone younger, a lot of them actually recognize me from when I played because they watched the games um, at the assisted living home. So a couple of them knew me and they were like, "You're that feisty little guard that used to play for Coach Beeman." And so we connected a lot through UH Sports, actually. But it was the energy and just being able to come in with a positive attitude and just serve them daily and bring new fun activities to the place. And so I think they really appreciated that aspect of me as a person.
You mentioned the energy that they kind of address. When I used to broadcast the games, and that's the one thing I always describe, when you came in, you brought that energy, you brought that positivity. And I know it's not documented, but I always kept saying, unofficially, I think you hold the record at the University of Hawaii for most charges taken. I mean,
Maybe.
by chance, did you keep count? Because every time you came in, I think at least it seemed like every time you took a charge, offensive foul, going back the other way. Did you keep count?
I didn't keep count, but I did have like a game streak of like 8 or 9 straight games where I had at least one charge. So that's the only thing I remember. But charges are such an energy play. And I
Mhm.
learned at a young age how to take a charge. And so I knew that I wasn't always going to be the top scorer or the leading rebounder, obviously, not very tall. But I knew that I could impact the game in a positive way by doing stuff like that. And it kind of got me to where I was and the ability to play at UH and everything. So it's definitely probably one of my favorite things to do on a basketball court.
And you did it well, and is not easy. I mean, not hardly anybody can really do that. But to even say you went 8 or 9 games consecutively, that could be an NCAA record. I don't know, but that is outstanding. Now, you also said that you went back home after graduation. Home is Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Most people, when they
Yep.
hear that town, they think football, where University of Alabama
Hmm.
is. But you give me what Tuscaloosa for you is like.
Well, growing up, Tuscaloosa wasn't always, it was a football town because it's down south, but we used to not be very good. And we would go to football games, and we had this bet with my mom. If we won the game, we would get Dippin' Dots after the game.
Ooh.
And we lost all the time. So I would leave games. My early memories of Tuscaloosa was leaving football games crying that I didn't get Dippin' Dots because my mom was hardcore about it. But growing up there, I mean, being in that culture, it's similar to Hawaii as far as the family oriented culture. I still think Hawaii has it beat as far as just like that aloha spirit. There's Southern hospitality, but there's something different about here. Growing up there was definitely good food, sports. You basically ate and played sports. And that's kind of how I describe my childhood. A little bit in the woods, like backyard, barefoot, but I wasn't too much of a country bumpkin back in the day. I was usually like on a field or in a gym. So that's kind of what I remember growing up there.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but football was big. Now, while you were a student here at the University of Hawaii, didn't wasn't there like either an Instagram post or something where you were kicking a field goal, um, right? And it was not like
Yeah,
some right in front of the
that was
goalpost thing.
me.
This was like a decent distance. Did that happen?
Yeah, that was me. I played 3 years of varsity football in high school. 2 of the years were in South Carolina, and then 1 year was in Alabama. And I really enjoyed it. I actually went to elite camps and did all types of stuff my senior year. I knew I was going to play basketball in college, but I really enjoyed football. I enjoyed the team. There's nothing like like high school Friday nights, especially down south. And so I kind of just started practicing, got bored one day and wanted something different. You know, we go through all these workouts and weights and all this stuff with basketball, and I had always been a multi-sport athlete. So I was like, you know what, I wonder if I can still kick. And I could. So I just, you know, was messing around and posting videos, and it was a fun time.
Oh, because I remember there was this little buzz like, hey, she should be on the UH football team. I can't remember exactly if one of the kickers in one of the games missed a couple of extra points or something. It's like, what about Savannah? What was the farthest field goal for you? What is your range?
In game, the furthest I hit was like a 40-yarder in high school.
Wow.
But out of high school, like I could go a little bit further. There's a video online of me hitting like a 48-yarder, and that was at an elite camp in Alabama, a Division I football camp. But yeah, that's kind of my range. I don't know if I could still do it. I like to say I'm very retired now. But it was definitely a fun time, and I do miss football and the kicking days a little bit.
48 yards. That is a distance. Wow, man, you got a leg. Okay.
Yeah.
I have this a naive to the South question. So
Okay.
please don't be offended in any way.
I won't.
Okay.
Don't worry.
My general perception and thinking that if you're from the South, especially states like Alabama and Georgia, that the majority of folks would have the Southern accent. As I listen to you, you do not. So is it more certain areas within Alabama have a thicker Southern accent? What is the real way to describe who has the accents or not?
I'd say once I got out here, I started to get this kind of twang accent. Like it was kind of Southern, but starting to sound more like a West Coast kind of gal. But when I say certain words like gal or y'all, people will be like, I knew it. You're from Alabama. Like if you hear my little sister talk, though, you would definitely know that we're from Alabama. She is a country bumpkin at heart, and I laugh every time I hear her talk now because I'm like, is that what I used to sound like? And it really is what I used to sound like, but I think just living in different places now, your accent kind of fades in and out. But when I'm home, I probably sound a little more country, just being around everybody.
So on the flip side, then when you go back home, because your accent kind of went away, do they give you some grief, some heat? Like, oh, what the heck? What are you saying? How come you sound this way? Anything like that?
I think maybe certain words, like how I said, you know, country words that I say come off with the country accent. I think there's probably words that I say when I go home that they're like, what is she talking about? But not too much. My little sister will, if I comment on her country accent, she'll kind of come back at me. But other than that, I don't deal with it too much down there. They're just like, are you from here? And I'm like, yeah, born and raised. But yeah, it's good fun though.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's good. So it's really just you kind of adapting to your surroundings that kind of led to that. Now, here, your new job as Director of Player Development. What exactly is that?
So it's kind of a mix of a bunch of different things. I do everything from operations and helping out Jason, our new director of basketball operations, to scouting, to helping out in practice, to giving advice to players because I've been there pretty recently in their shoes. And I really enjoy it because I kind of get to do different things. Like I'm saying, I get to do something different every single day. And I am going to be doing a lot of fundraising and stuff like that because I'm still well connected in the community and, you know, made a lot of great friends and my Hawaii family out here. So I'm going to get to do a lot of that, which I'm really excited about.
Now, because of NCAA regulations and things, like, are you, like, I know Director of Operations, that position, you can't actually quote unquote coach, but are there limitations with your position? Like, can you recruit? Can you do other things other coaches can do, or is there some restrictions on that?
There's still some restrictions because I'm technically a support staff like the director of basketball operations, but hopefully the NCAA will be passing a waiver maybe this month or early in the fall that allows support staff to be on court and be counted as a coach, basically. So the restrictions could be lessening, hopefully, fingers crossed. But as of right now, I still am involved in practice, but just not able to like physically coach, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay. Now, so in your new role, then now that you are part of the staff, right? First of all, I know Amy Atwell graduated last year, so there's nobody left because she was there for almost a decade. I'm just kidding. She was there for 6 years. But is there anybody left from when you were playing?
Yeah, actually, Olivia Davies was coming in my senior year. She was a freshman. So me and her were pretty close my senior year. And so it's been really cool to see how much she's grown. She's now like a third year sophomore or something crazy like that. But it's been awesome to reconnect with her. And, it's really cool because I'm able to talk to her in a different way, but also still relate to her and cherish like the memories that we had as student athletes together, but then help guide her now that I'm out of it. So it's been an awesome new perspective to have.
Okay, and that leads me to this next thing because it's right, like a lot of coaches say, especially as young as you are as part of a coaching staff, right? So now you have this different relationship now with players. You were just a player and very recently. And I've heard coaches say when they first get into coaching, one of the things they realize, like, man, these players, they're knuckleheads, man. It's like, I can't believe I was like that before. I was like that when I was 20 or 21. They don't listen. They're not as disciplined because now you got to be the ones to kind of do that to them, right? Enforce things, maintain rules, give the structure. Whereas as a player, you might have rebelled or whatever. In your position, as early as this is, do you see anything where you're like something like that? Like, God, these kids these days, I tell you, they're so hard to work with. Anything like that?
Actually, yes, I see a lot of it. Not necessarily that they're hard to work with, but I see situations that happen that I'm like, I've been in your shoes. Like, I remember what it's like getting called out for stuff in practice or things like that. And so it's actually been funny because it brings up a lot of memories and I'm able to laugh about it with our coaching staff. But at the same time, I'm able to help them avoid situations like that as well, like learning how to be smarter, learning better decisions to make on and off court, because I've been there and I made decisions that if I knew better, I probably wouldn't have done. Not anything crazy, but just things like simple things that can make your life a lot easier as a student athlete. And so it's really cool to be able to do that. But yeah, I definitely look at it and I'm like, dang, if I would have done that 3 years ago, I don't know what would have happened to me, but it's pretty funny.
All right, now I want to play a little bit of comparing your hometown of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, to Honolulu, Hawaii, because
Okay.
you've obviously lived in both places, worked, became an adult in both places, so you really have that kind of element of comparison. So whatever topic I bring out, I want you to say which one is better, Tuscaloosa or Honolulu. Okay, and be honest.
Okay, are you going to get me destroyed in the comment section?
Okay, better food, Tuscaloosa or Honolulu?
That's tough. That I knew you were going to open up with that, and I got to go with my hometown only because I grew up eating that style, the Southern style food. I love the food here too, but there's nothing like a home style Southern meal. So Tuscaloosa.
What would be your favorite Southern homestyle meal? What would be on the plate for you?
Hmm. I might say some chicken and dumplings. My mom is a great cook. Shout out to my mom. She is a phenomenal cook and she can make any type of dish, but I'd say chicken and dumplings, chicken and rice. You can never go wrong with a fried chicken plate with mashed potatoes, collard greens, like yams, which are sweet potatoes. I'd say that's probably my ideal meal there.
Oh, okay. All
Comfort
right.
food.
All right. Better city or town for outdoor activities? Honolulu or Tuscaloosa?
Definitely Honolulu. The most fun I had growing up in Tuscaloosa was probably running around in the woods with my friends when I was younger. We don't have an ocean close to my town. The closest thing we had was a lake, and there were big old catfish, so I was scared to swim in it. So definitely Honolulu. I love to hike, love to go to the beach. So
All
Honolulu
right.
takes that.
I'm not going to say college football because I know what the answer is, but which is the better women's basketball town, Honolulu or Tuscaloosa?
I would say Honolulu actually. Um, just because the type of fans that come to our game, they're so engaged, they're so die hard for our team. And I really was able to connect with a lot of our fans when I was a player. And so I definitely say Honolulu. I might be biased, but
Oh, all right. Hey, hey, I can see that. This may be a no-brainer, but I'm going to ask.
okay.
Harsher winter.
Tuscaloosa, but not by too far. Like we might get snow every couple years in the winter. Like it's kind of warm there, not like here, but when we get snow in Tuscaloosa, the whole town shuts down. It could be like an inch of snow, and that's our harsh winter. But definitely Tuscaloosa with the harsh winters.
All right. Now, think you've which is do you think? Yeah, I'm sure you've heard both. Being in Honolulu, you've heard someone who talks really. Have you heard someone who talks really tough pidgin English?
Yes, I have.
Which do you think, objectively, is the person harder to understand? The person from Hawaii who talks really thick pidgin English, or someone from the deep south who has a really hard, very solid southern accent with the jargon that comes with it? Which would you say is harder to understand if you're objectively listening to both?
I don't know. That's a tough one. I think it'd be hilarious to see someone speaking like hard pidgin and a very country accent. To see them having a conversation would be hilarious because neither one of them would understand. I would maybe say the South is harder to understand. Even living there, sometimes, like I said, when my little sister talks, I'm like, what are you saying? This is insane. Like, there's no way that that made sense in anyone's mind, let alone like my little sister's. But I'd say the South is probably harder to understand someone with a deep accent.
Interesting. And the last one, since you just said you were a chocolatier when you went back home, where have you tasted the best chocolate? Back home? Now, be honest, it might be your mother's store or someplace here.
I'm gonna have to go with my mom's store. She has gourmet chocolate, but I do love mac nuts covered in chocolate, and I hadn't had those until I was out here. So, if my mom could cover mac nuts from Hawaii in chocolate, it would be the perfect mix. So, I'll go with my mom for the home team, but I do love the chocolate here. Bad sweet tooth.
So, like back in your hometown, is the concept of chocolate covered macadamia nuts, is that really weird? Would that
I
be
would
considered
say
like what?
I would say yes, probably because people probably don't even know what macadamia nuts are in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Yeah.
But my mom has dipped things from cheeseburgers, French fries, everything in chocolate. So
Mm.
I would say that's even more weird than a mac nut. But honestly, they probably would think it's different just because they've never heard of it.
No, that's true. Hey, we got to give a shout out to your dad because I think the last time I talked to you when you were a player, you said your dad was, or still is, he's into broadcasting, sports broadcasting, right?
Yeah, so my dad works for 247 Sports. He covers Alabama football. So I grew up in football and around media. And so shout out to dad. He's awesome. And he does radio too, or did. he had a radio show called Southern Fried Sports. And I got good radio practice with him because he would have me on every once in a while. So shout out to your dad.
And is he still doing that, like covering the Alabama football and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, he is. I think he's still with 247 Sports. And he's all over Twitter. He does, all the media stuff, but it's all Alabama sports related. And then sometimes Hawaii sports when it's involving me, usually.
Of course. All right. Well, awesome. Hey, I want to thank you again for taking the time to be a part of our ESPN Fan Friday Talk Story. Good luck. Congratulations again to getting the position here at the University of Hawaii women's basketball team. Great. Perfect. Glad you can bring the energy. And good luck this season. We look forward to seeing you on the court.
Thanks so much for having me.